Hey guys, how you doing today? Have a day off, right? Just had a really nice chat with my mom, in fact, which was really nice. She lives in Manitoba. I'm here in Ontario. It was a really good conversation because she really let me go on about the stuff I go on here on YouTube. And the topic I really started to go on about, and it's something I realize I don't really talk about that much here, so I want to, is money isn't real, right? Like I've been thinking recently, like I use the language like we've been taken over by a death cult, and that's obviously true, right? Like we're piling into climate change disaster after climate change disaster. They're keeping us at work in the middle of pandemics. Capitalism has obviously configured itself to be a death cult, where it rewards the most sociopathic amongst us. And I think that the key component, like who is in the death cult and who is not in the death cult, can be boiled down into this simple idea. Do you believe money is real or not? If you believe that money is real, then you're part of the death cult, even by like just extension, right? Because if you think that this illusionary, non-created like technology tool is actually a tangible, real thing, then it's warped the way that you view the world to a point where, and it warps your worldview to a point where you're willing to sacrifice lives in order to secure the holdings of people who have it. Then you're definitely part of the death cult. These people who walk around and are saying like, well, we can't do a second lockdown because money, because the economy, right? Sorry, mate, you're a member of the death cult, pretty clearly. Like, you're willing to sacrifice lives for this illusionary, made-up technology. That's what money is, right? Money is more akin to writing than it is to a commodity, right? It's not a good, right? It's not even a service, right? It's something that we can print, we can create on computer screens. We made it up. It's like a story, right? It's not a thing. We've just created these little pieces of paper and these little metal coins to trick ourselves into thinking that it's actually a thing when it is not a thing at all. We could literally, we could destroy the entire money supply, reprint it, and redistribute it into the populace. It would take 1 day to do. Like these absolutely. We've entered like a period of extreme mental illness where we actually believe that this non-existent, non-real, imaginary, illusionary force of our own creation, which is akin to a technology or writing, is actually something to be pursued and collected, and something that we worship as if it has the most amount of worth in our society. It's how it has become the primary mode of social communication in our society, and it doesn't exist. It's a non-entity. But we've structured our entire society, because we've been taken over by a death cult, so that if you don't have access to this money, which is withheld from you, right, then you don't get to eat and you don't get shelter, right? Like this is to say it for what it is really reveals it to be we live in this incredibly barbarous and barbaric time where we could very easily simply distribute money so that people can go get the goods and services that they need from any institution that's actually providing it. And we choose not to. And it is at this point a choice. We choose to keep people homeless. We choose to keep people in poverty. It would be easy to resolve these things. It would actually be easy to resolve these things. And we simply choose not to do it. And we choose not to do it because we have subserviated ourselves to a death cult. Just the idea that there are no public banks. Like, really think about this. Money creation does not exist within the hands. If you're just a regular citizen, you've got to go to a privately held institution called a bank, right? You have to subserviate yourself to their laws and their rules so that you can get the illusionary magic paper that they create from nothing and they've been given the right to do. And the only reason they're going to go along with you isn't if you have a plan that would benefit the populace, isn't if you have an idea that could actually solve any problems. It's, do they think your plan will make them money, right? So they've subserviated themselves to this idea that money is real. They've subserviated themselves to this concept that money is a commodity to be hoarded and worshipped. And so we could have public banks that would actually be interested in, like, oh, hey, yeah, like a restaurant down here would be nice. Or, oh, yeah, like this kind of thing down here would be nice. And we can work together to actually create some kind of system that would support this kind of thing. And we can create the capital that you need, obviously, to do that, because money's not real. We can just create what we need. We could even, and I think the most insane thing that our society is doing with this idea that money is real, like, we've structured our society in such a way so that a single individual can gain enough economic power to take the society over, to where they get to the point where they are indistinguishable from a king or any other kind of ruler, emperor, pharaoh, because and the reason that's given is, well, they earned it because they had the foresight and the intelligence to be born rich. And when you pause and you actually think about it, you realize how insane this is. The most powerful people in the society should be our elected representatives, should be the Prime Minister, should be the House of Commons, right? Without a question. Those should be the most powerful people in the society. They're not. Galen Weston is more powerful than any individual member of the House of Commons, for sure. Maybe even more powerful than the Prime Minister himself. David Thompson is more powerful than our elected representatives. And it simply should not be the case. Without a doubt, the most powerful people should be the people we elect as our representatives to run our country. They should not be these unaccountable tyrants who are hereditary billionaires who have seized control over the means of production to be able to assert power and dominance in the society where none should exist at all. And they do it because they've convinced enough people in the society that money is something worth sacrificing your entire life to get. That instead of money being simply readily available for everyone to have access to, instead of money being used as a technology and a tool to grease the societal transactions so that everyone can have food and shelter easily distributed into the society, instead of money being treated as just a tool for the society to use to better itself, it's being withheld and then treated as as like a god token, as like a piece of divinity itself. And this worship of money is leading us into these absolutely asinine and destructive places where we are sacrificing, not only actively sacrificing our safety and our lives by walking into a pandemic to work amidst a spreading deadly disease, but also we're doing absolutely nothing in the face of an overwhelming natural force, which is climate change. Like and when the worst effects of climate change begin to wash through our country, what are we going to do? We're going to stand up and say, well, at least billionaires kept their money, right? We're insane. We've lost our minds. Members of the death cult have taken over. The death cult itself, which is capitalism and its acolytes, is leading us to a path of complete and total destruction. Politically, I mean, the conservatives are absolutely the worst offenders. The conservatives believe that money is real. The conservatives believe that you should sacrifice your entire life to money. They're willing to withhold money, and they're willing to take money away from other institutions because they think that governments are businesses instead of institutions of power that maintain order in the society. That's what a government is. A government exists. If government exists for any reason, it is to ensure the well-being of the populace. And the capitalists have had to go after government as a force for decades now because they understand that if people were to be elected or to seize the levers of power and use them in order to help the populace, it would diminish the power of the capitalists. Because the capitalists are parasites, right? They provide no value. They create nothing, right? All they do is they take their money and they make more money with it. So this is like taking an illusionary made-up force and then making more illusionary made-up force with it, and then pretending like you're useful and you have power. Capitalists are by definition useless. They create nothing, they do nothing, they do no work. All they do is withhold money from the society. This is exactly what a parasite does. Parasites withhold resources, they withhold energy, they keep it for themselves. And this is why you get articles like happen in the New York Times, rather, where they say, with a complete straight face, without any critical commentary, stock market soaring, wages and job losses expected, wages low, unemployment high. Like, you're literally saying the parasite is doing very well, but the body is suffering. And we're supposed to look at that and think that that's a good thing. Instead of going, oh shit, our society has been taken over by a parasite, by a death cult that's designed to destroy us. We should get rid of it. We should pull that parasite out and we should destroy it. It's absolutely insane that banks are privately owned. That's absolutely insane. That's parasitic death cultish behavior. Banks should be publicly owned, right? We should educate and understand that, like, so here in Ontario, the Ford administration just put forward financial literacy as education. But all it is it's teaching people how to work within the death cult under the assumption that money is real, that it has, that it itself is worth gaining, when money itself is just made up. We make it up. We print it out of nothing. Like, we could if we wanted to, and it would take a day. It would take literally a day. We could recall the entire money supply, set everyone's accounts to zero, and then redistribute the money back into the society at an equal measure, and set the tax rate so that if you earned, like, let's say, over $5 billion that year, any extra money was just taken away. We could do that. It would take a day. It would take no time whatsoever. Because if you are duped into believing that money is a thing, that it's real, then you think that it is kind of has this tangibility and it has this permanence that it doesn't have. It's not real. It is made up. And it's like a joke. It's like a joke we're playing on ourselves, right? It's like we pranked ourselves into structuring our society to waste everybody's time in this mad pursuit for something that doesn't exist. And the pursuit of this thing is leading to our complete and total destruction. Like, if you take a step back from what you're doing on a daily basis and you actually look at what the system is and how it's operating, you see very cleanly that we've lost our minds. Like, when climate change comes and begins to cleanse this place, it's going to affect the rich as well. Like, this is what's so insane. And it won't matter. It won't matter if Galen Weston has $500 billion or however much. 500 billion is way more than Galen Weston has, but it won't matter if, like, but it won't matter. Like, Jeff Bezos's $500 billion isn't going to help him, right? When climate change comes and it starts to render the society impotent and cripple it, when food shortages begin, when the riots begin, all that money is not going to help Jeff Bezos, right? There will come a point where people will realize, oh shit, this guy's just a high priest of a death cult that's abandoned us. And that's what's happening in front of our eyes. And yet we still sacrifice our lives on a daily basis. Every day we wake up, we go to a place that maybe we barely tolerate, work that job so that we can get enough money in order to pay for rent and pay for food, when those things could be and should be provided. That we could easily do that. It would take a day. We are experiencing a period that is a collective madness, that is a collective mental illness. We have allowed individuals, like a handful, I'm talking like 10 people. We've allowed like 10 people to seize control of our society. And they said, we can't vote for these 10 people. We can't get them out. We can't replace them. We can't even avoid buying from them because they own so much, right? They're so involved in so many aspects of our society that we can't even vote with our dollars, as if those were real in the first place. And we've allowed these people to seize control of our society, and they're warping it for what they consider to be their own interests. And when climate change rips through and renders our society completely and cuts us at the knees and makes us completely unable to fulfill even the most basic needs of the populace, all that money that they are hoarding and withholding from people to ensure their starvation and homelessness isn't going to protect them. All right, this is the end of me, guys. I hope you guys are doing well out there. What a journey we're all on together. This is incredible. Just the insanity of it is beginning to really sink in for me. Just how insipid and stupid we are being as a people. Go find somebody to laugh with. Go have a drink, have a smoke, do what you can. I love you all. Good luck.